as I have again and again, where are we with an urgent review of the Pyrite remediation scheme? Because, as you well know, presently it's not fit for purpose, and it's particularly not fit for purpose for those categories stuck in the middle whose properties are damaged but not enough damage to be remediated, and who cannot get a green certificate showing they're pyrite free because of the mechanism in which it's been done now. So they can't sell, they can't renovate, they can't move on with their lives. It's long overdue and needs to be addressed.
Again, the whole area of Pyrite is something that I know Deputy Daly has been probably doing pioneer and work on, along with many others as well, and it's something that we're trying to address as much as we possibly can. Presentations of new people, not homeless situation, but people with Pyrite, I think it's still about 10 a week now, so there's a fair lot still coming on stream. So I want to stress again that that scheme is not going to close, it will not close, so that's one thing I want to constantly stress as we go along as well. The Pyrite Resolution Board, with the support of the Housing Agency, is responsible for the implementation of the Pyrite remediation scheme. The scheme is one of last resort and is limited in its application and its scope. The scheme is applicable to dwellings which are subject to significant damage attributable to pyrite heave, established in accordance with SI 3981/2013. At this stage, I probably know it off by heart, Deputy Daly as well. But the reactive pyrite and subfloor hardcore material Part 1 testing and categorisation protocol. In this regard, it is a condition of eligibility under the scheme that an application to the Board must be accomplished by a building condition assessment with a damage condition rating of 2. This ensures that, having regard to available resources, the focus of the scheme is on dwellings which are most severely damaged by pyrite heave. We have no proposal to amend the eligibility criteria for that scheme. At the end of the remediation works, each dwelling is provided with a certificate of remediation for reactive pyrite and subfloor hardcore material, which is completed jointly by the relevant builder and the design professional in accordance with Annex B, IS 3982/2013. The certificate confirms that the dwelling has been remediated to the requirements set out in the national standard. A green certificate is issued in respect of dwellings that have been assessed at the request of their homeowner in accordance with the standard and considered to be free from pyrite. This issuing of such certificates is a matter entirely for the homeowner and the professional person they engage. It is not part of the pyrite remediation scheme. Where a house has been remediated under the scheme, a certificate of remediation is provided and the house of a green certificate does not arise. I know the issue here is in relation to the new standard being brought forward, which I had hoped we would have had months ago. And it's outside the control of my department when the standard is agreed. And hopefully, I think most people believe that a change in that might help progressing into category 2 quicker, that you can get dealt with, or else that you will qualify for a green cert as well. And I would hope that too, that the new standard will bring some changes for people and bring some certainty. I don't have them yet. I have asked that they be fast-tracked as quickly as they possibly can. I've been told by the NSAI that we're talking another couple of months or before the end of the year. I've said, in my view, that's not acceptable, and I've asked them to be please fast-track them as quick as they possibly can, because I can't progress solutions for people under this scheme until we have those new standards developed as well.
The problem is not the new standard. I think the changes in it, although we haven't seen it, will alter the situation a little for some people, but it's not going to correct the fundamental flaws with the scheme. And I know that you know, because there's hundreds of people in your constituency who are suffering on this issue. And having raised this issue at every minister's questions, I went to the trouble of drafting legislation on it myself, to replace the present scheme with a scheme that would be based on one of remediation or certification, with the idea being that if your house could not be or did not require remediation, that the scheme itself would offer a certificate so that you could move on with your life. But I was prevented from even giving that bill a reading on the grounds that it would be a cost to the Exchequer, even though we've done a huge amount of work on it. So in other words, the only people who can change this scheme are the people who are in government, because backbenchers will be prevented from putting legislation forward on this. And it is urgent, because again, I put it to you, there are people there, and the flaw in the scheme is that it was based on damage rather than the presence of pyrite, which means that somebody whose house has pyrite and is therefore valueless but not deemed to have enough damage to be remediated is left in total limbo land, and it is simply unacceptable. These are the victims of the housing bubble that led in essence to the housing crisis, and it just cannot go on.
About being left in limbo, and we're trying to find solutions to that. I might sit down and engage and look over your own bill with you, if that's okay, and actually see where we can use it. The problem is, at the moment, in some of the some of the standards, your house still is reported to have a pyrite presence, but yet you mightn't see physical damage to the house. And I've been in the houses that are told they have pyrite, that you can't see anything wrong with them even 10, 20, 12 years after construction. So no one's going to buy that house, or the bank won't give a mortgage on that house. But yet it would be probably wrong to spend €60,000 fixing the house to remove the presence of pyrite. So it's not an easy circle to square, to be honest with you, or the other way around, square to circle. But I accept people are left in limbo, and we have to find solutions to that, because I've met people and families who want to move on with their lives. Their job might have moved on, or their lives might have moved on to a different part of the country, and they're stuck in the house they have today. So I would be happy to try to find solutions to that. But it will not be possible to get the backing of any Department of Finance or Public Expenditure to spend 60, 70 or 80,000 on a house that has no real physical evidence of damage while we know pyrite is there. So that's the difficulty. Certainly when your house becomes a situation that it has to be remediated, the scheme is there for that, and a lot of houses have been fixed at this stage already. Over 700 already are completed, and another 400 or 500 in the system, with over 1,300 applications in total. So we are dealing with houses that do need to be fixed. And I know what you're saying, is those are left in limbo land, but the solution is just not as straightforward as that. But I'm happy to look at your bill and see if you have a better solution than what we can find.
Need to be fixed. It would be utterly ridiculous to fix it, clearly, and no one is putting that forward. However, if a property has pyrite, there has to be a system when it has been studied after another period in time and demonstrated that the damage hasn't progressed, that you can say the level of pyrite has already oxidised and will not develop further, or is of such a low level as to be insignificant, meaning that a house can be declared, in essence, pyrite-free. Because without that remediation certificate, the only other remedy can be an actual physical remediation of the property. They're the only two options. But the problem is we have a remediation scheme that's too restrictive for people to get onto, because your house has to be virtually falling down before you get onto it. That's too restrictive, and yet the comfort on the other end, if you don't qualify, you can't get out of jail either, because you can't get. So that needs to be built into. But interesting, when I moved the bill, one of the objections raised was there's no definition of a green certificate. They couldn't tell me what it was defined as, even though it's a term that's used broadly in the industry and we all know what it should be. So I will sit down with you. I hope you're still here to do that, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but it is very unfortunate that a lot of these key issues now are going to be subsumed by the internal battles in Fine Gael, but I hope we can sit down and address it.
Deputy, that the internal battles of Fine Gael, or internal journey of Fine Gael, or whatever you like to look at it, won't delay any kind of progress or delay in this matter. But the issue is, and it's not as simple to say issue the green cert, because I know what that means, and it means you can sell on your house and people feel confident to buy it, or you can get a mortgage on it. But I've been in houses that are built 30 years ago, and 30 or more, and only now is pyrite becoming a problem. So even if you say you can get a green cert, it would be wrong. We have to. To be able to tell someone you can get out of jail or your house is cleared is just not as simple as that if there is a presence of pyrite. And that's why the standards have been looked at again, to see is the testing procedures right, and the standards been set there, to see is there some way to say legitimately that pyrite is never going to cause a problem. But if you see a house 30 years on and then a problem is caused by pyrite, it would be very hard for the state to say and issue a green cert at a stage when the pyrite is present. But I would like to try to find a solution that people are free of this and can move on from it. And there's other ways to do this too that I'm looking at, and I can discuss with you again when we look over your bill to see if there's some way of doing it with your bill. But trust me, I would like to find a solution to this, because it affects people that I represent as well, and I've seen it firsthand how the damage it can cause to a family and to their, both financially and socially as well.